Someone like you is no longer needed here. You're fired." Those were the words thrown at me in the president's office. I stood there frozen in the spacious room. You know the reason, don't you? The way you work is just too inefficient. By the time you finish one task, others have already done three. You're clearly too slow, aren't you? It's true, my illustrations take more time than others. But that's because I want to create pieces with soul. I go to the field right up until the deadline, trying to capture the expressions of people as they really are. And yet, Mr. Spencer went as far as to comment on my body. To be honest, it's hard to watch you. That limp of yours, dragging your leg around like that just to visit sites. Are you trying to get sympathy? Even the clients feel uncomfortable. When they say your work is soul, it's just flattery. What they really think is, I'd feel bad if we fired this guy. Can't you see that? His words made my fists tremble. I understand. And just like that, I was fired from the company. But this moment would later become a major turning point in my life. And Mr. Spencer would ultimately have to face the consequences of firing me. My name is Liam. I'm the star striker on the soccer team in my second year of middle school. Well, to be more accurate, I used to be. Now, I lie in a hospital bed, staring up at a plain white ceiling. Gentle sunlight streams through the window. Children's voices echo from somewhere nearby, striking a chord in my chest, reminding me of who I was just a few weeks ago. On the bedside shelf are colored message cards from my teammates and classmates. They're filled with words of encouragement, but one message is missing. It's the one from my best friend and fellow soccer teammate, Simon. When he came to visit me with our coach and his parents, Simon wouldn't even look me in the eye. We were best friends, and now we can't even talk to each other. I let out a sigh. Just thinking about Simon makes my chest tighten. The time we spent together flashes through my mind like a reel of memories. I first met Simon on the day of our middle school entrance ceremony. We happened to sit next to each other, and I still remember how excited we were when we found out we both loved soccer. "Hey Liam, want to kick the ball around after school? Let's get some practice in." Simon came from a super wealthy family. He wore high-end cleats and the latest sportswear. But none of that mattered, and he truly loved soccer. Even after official practice, we would stay on the field chasing the ball together. It became our routine to keep training long after everyone else had gone home. Simon would wipe the sweat from his forehead and laugh. By that time, word about us had started to spread in the middle school soccer world. At the prefectural tournament, we started noticing men in suits appearing in the stands from time to time. Later, we found out they were scouts from the league. Those two have a really interesting chemistry. They don't move like middle schoolers. They're raw talent with a lot of potential. We overheard those kinds of comments now and then. One day after practice, our coach, Mr. Hughes, called Simon and me into the faculty office. We were a little anxious, thinking something might be wrong, but Mr. Hughes's face was full of excitement. "Actually, a professional youth team has reached out." I gasped in surprise at his words. "And it's on the condition that you both join together. They've been watching your teamwork." Simon grabbed my arm and shook me. "This is amazing. Did you hear that, Liam?" "Yeah, but what is it?" "I'm not going if you're not going too." Simon grinned from ear to ear and slapped me on the shoulder. "Of course, we're the ultimate duo, remember? The scout from that youth team was supposed to come watch the prefectural tournament next month. Our dream felt like it was finally within reach. All right, let's practice even more." "Yeah." On our way back to the field, Simon looked up at the sky and said, "Liam, let's become pros. The two of us." "Yeah, it's a promise." Back then, I never imagined that we wouldn't be able to keep that promise. Fate was about to tear us apart in the cruelest way. "Sir, watch out." On the way to a match venue, I saw an elderly man trip and fall into the street. A large truck was bearing down fast, and without thinking, I ran out. I managed to push him out of the way in time. I was badly injured, but my life wasn't in danger. However, I was left with lasting damage to my left leg. ending my career as a player. I desperately hoped for some kind of good news, but the doctor's words were harsh. He clearly said, "A full recovery will be difficult. I'd be able to walk normally again, but with a slight limp." Soccer was no longer an option. "Hey, Liam." I can still hear what Simon said when he came to visit me a few days ago. "We lost the prefectural tournament. If you'd been there." "No, after you were gone, the whole team fell apart. We ended up losing in the semifinals." The next thing he said pierced straight through my heart. Tears welled up in Simon's eyes. His face was a mix of frustration and sorrow. "You should have been the one to go to the youth team." Before I could finish, Simon grabbed the front of my hospital gown. "Don't mess around. Don't say stuff like that like it's nothing." His face was soaked with tears as he shouted, "That match. I was terrible without you. I had no one to pass to, I couldn't score, and no one even approached me afterward." Simon's voice trembled. "Why did you do it? Why would you risk everything for someone you didn't even know? What about our promise? We were supposed to go pro together." I had no words. I understood how Simon felt. To have your dream crushed during your final middle school tournament. "Forget it." Simon wiped his tears with his sleeve and turned his back to me. And in that moment, his back looked farther away than it ever had before. In my hospital room, the latest soccer league newsletter had arrived, filled with updates from each school's matches. Photos of kids kicking the ball filled the pages. Had I been shut out forever from that place that once felt like home? The sun began to set, and the light stretching into the room cast long, quiet shadows. I slowly closed my eyes. How am I supposed to move forward from here? I still don't have the answer. 6 months had passed since I entered a different high school from Simon. My steps toward the classroom, still dragging my left leg, felt heavy somehow. Thanks to rehab, I could live a normal life, but it seemed a full recovery was out of reach. "Good morning, Liam." My classmates treated me like anyone else. But that distance and that politeness, it hurt even more. No one here knew me back when I used to play soccer. To them, I was just a classmate with a limp. During lunch break, I looked out at the field from my seat by the classroom window. Students, mostly from the soccer team, were playing below. Their shouts and laughter carried up on the breeze. Damn it! The words slipped out before I realized it. No one heard. I looked down at my notebook. It was my language arts notebook I'd left open on my desk. Before I knew it, the pages were filled from edge to edge with drawings. I wondered when it started. My hand would begin to move on its own, sketching the image of players chasing the ball or taking a shot whenever I watched soccer. At first, it was just messy scribbles. But I realized that drawing calmed me somehow. Now that I couldn't play anymore, I started pouring that energy into every detail. The angle of a foot mid-kick, the arc of a shot, the intense expression on a player's face. Whoa, this is amazing. A voice suddenly came from behind me. It was Kevin, the kid from the art club. He always spent lunch breaks drawing by himself. It's nothing, just some doodles. No way, this is seriously good. Especially how you captured the motion. Kevin stared at my notebook with real focus. To be honest, it made me a little uncomfortable. Did you used to play soccer? His words hit me like a punch to the chest. Yeah, I did. I see. Kevin seemed to sense something and didn't ask any more. Instead, he handed me a sheet of paper. Hey, if you want, why not enter this? It's a prefecture-wide illustration contest for high school students. The theme is passion. A contest? Yeah, I'm entering it too, since I'm in the art club. But Liam, I really think you should go for it. Just as I was about to turn him down, Kevin added, when I look at your drawings, they really move me. I think your feelings come through, at least they did for me. He didn't say exactly what he felt. Maybe he was being careful, not wanting to say anything that might hurt me. I took the contest application form from him, along with his quiet kindness. Later, I bought a new sketchbook at the art supply store he recommended. When I opened the cover, a blank white page was waiting for me. That night, I hunkered down at my desk. I laid out a large sheet of drawing paper and started sketching furiously. What I drew was the moment just before a shot on goal. The ball slicing through the air, the keeper stretching out desperately, and the crowd holding its breath. But something still felt missing. Something essential. That's right. The promise I made with Simon. I added one more player to the edge of the scene. A teammate in the perfect position, passing the ball, wearing a faint smile that only someone watching closely could notice. First prize, Sports Illustration category, Eternal Partner by Liam. When they called my name at the awards ceremony, I couldn't believe it. Even professional illustrators were in attendance. One of them stopped in front of my drawing and stared at it for a long time. Have you ever thought about becoming an illustrator? That question, which a few people asked me that day, shifted something inside me. Until then, I had only drawn to ease the pain. But maybe this was a new possibility. Maybe on paper, I could express the love I still had for soccer that I could no longer show on the field. And even better, I could capture the brilliance of each fleeting moment and preserve it forever. That night, I wrote in my journal for the first time in a while. Today, I found a new dream. But this isn't an escape. If anything, it might be a way to express everything I learned from soccer in a different form. I glanced out the window and saw the full moon shining softly. It felt like a new path was beginning to appear before me, bathed in a different light than before. But still, something tugged at my heart. How should I tell Simon? In every one of my drawings, a piece of my memories with him is hidden. Someday, I want to tell him that those days we shared on the field helped shape who I am now. The feeling was a mix of hope and nervousness, just like standing on the field before a big game. This time, I didn't want to give up, no matter what. From that day on, I devoted myself fully to drawing. At first, the word illustrator didn't quite click, and it just felt like a hobby. But I couldn't stop thinking about what Kevin had said, "It comes through." Could my drawings really touch someone's heart? I joined the art club and spent every afternoon holed up in the art room. Kevin and our club advisor taught me the basics. I devoured art books, and I learned techniques online. On weekends, I went into the city and sketched scenes from local sports matches. Even if my leg wouldn't move the way I wanted, my hand still could. And this time, I wouldn't quit halfway. By the winter of my second year, I won an Excellence Award in a regional illustration contest. But it still wasn't enough. I wanted to compete on a bigger stage. That's when Kevin came to me, excited. "Liam, check this out. A national sports illustration competition." The flyer read, "The 30th National Sports Illustration Contest." It was hosted by a major design company called Creative Vision. Professional judges would be involved, so this was the real deal. The deadline was set for the summer of my third year. It was just 6 months away. All right, this would be my last chance to prove myself. I revised my entry over and over again. Standing in front of the canvas, all those days came rushing back to me. Playing alongside Simon, laughing with my teammates, and the roar of the crowd. And now I was heading to the contest venue. The summer sun blazed down as I made my way to the stage of this final challenge. The last summer of my high school life. I had entered plenty of competitions before, but this one felt different. The theme was a moment. For 3 years, I had poured everything into my drawings, chasing the dream of becoming a professional illustrator. And yet, a part of me still lacked confidence. Was this really the right path for me? As I stepped into the exhibition hall, a large poster immediately caught my eye. The 30th National Sports Illustration Contest, hosted by Creative Vision. Judges were gathered around the displayed works, deep in discussion. One figure among them looked strangely familiar from behind. Just then, the man turned around. Well, now, it was the elderly man I had saved at the crosswalk 3 years ago. Liam, is that you? The gentle smile of an aging gentleman. He approached slowly, leaning on a cane. His name was Gregory. He had visited me many times during my hospital stay and even arranged a car for me on the day I was discharged. It's been a while. It has, hasn't it? You look like you've grown even taller. Yeah, 5 centimeters since last year. Oh my. By the way, what brings you here, Gregory? Oh, this contest? My company is the one that organizes it. What? I blinked in disbelief. Today's contest was hosted by Creative Vision. Wait, Gregory, you're the president of Creative Vision? That's right. I started this contest 30 years ago. My eyes widened in shock. Creative Vision was one of the top design companies in the industry, a name I had long admired. And when I saw your work, I was truly amazed. I never imagined that the boy from that day would create something so extraordinary. Gregory stopped in front of my displayed piece. A moment from a soccer match, painted across a large canvas. The final clash in front of the goal. I had poured my own interpretation into capturing the instant where defense and offense collided. The expression on the player taking the shot, the outstretched fingers reaching for the ball, the goalkeeper's fierce determination, the breathless anticipation of the crowd. Everything feels alive. His words brought heat to my eyes, because the world I had once lived in and still dreamed of was trapped inside that painting. But Liam, what moved me most was the energy. This isn't just a drawing of a soccer scene. You're in this picture. My chest tightened. This angle, this tension, and this excitement, these things can only be drawn by someone who's actually stood on the pitch. You're still out there, fighting, even now. Yes. Tears spilled down my cheeks. It gave me a sense of relief to know that someone could truly understand the emotions I had poured into my artwork. No matter how hard I tried to hold back, the tears wouldn't stop. How much had I suffered since that day? Feelings I couldn't let go, regrets I carried, and longing that wouldn't fade. But little by little, drawing had helped me move forward. Still, a part of me wondered if this was really the right path. Liam. When I looked up at Gregory's voice, he was smiling warmly at me. If you're willing, would you like to work at our company? The sudden offer made my tears vanish in an instant. But I'm still just a high school student. That's all right. We have a recruitment program for high school graduates. Ugh. I didn't know how to respond. Gregory shook his head gently. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not offering you a job because you saved my life. He pointed slowly to my painting. Look at this piece. The energy in your drawing. It's something only someone who's truly been there could capture. It has the power to move people. That's a rare talent. His words sank deep into my heart. You're still standing on the pitch. Liam, only the way you express yourself has changed, and in fact, it's precisely because of what you went through that you're able to create such powerful artwork. Everything you fought for up until now was not in vain, and I believe that if you continue to fight in your own way, our company could be the stage where you do it. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I had taken one step closer to my dream. My efforts had finally been rewarded. This time, I didn't have to give up. As I bowed deeply, Gregory gently patted my shoulder. Oh, and congratulations. Your piece won the grand prize. Those words would go on to change my life forever. Starting in April, I began a training program at Creative Vision. At first, I was filled with anxiety. It was rare for someone to be hired right out of high school, and all my fellow trainees were older college graduates. But I held Gregory's words close to my heart and gave it everything I had. Liam, your artwork has soul. Be confident. Even during training, Gregory would stop by from time to check in on me. His warm gaze kept me going through the toughest feedback and critiques. Now it's been 5 years since I joined the company. I've developed my own artistic style. There's soul in Liam's artwork. There were more than a few clients who told me that. Especially when it comes to sports-related projects, I'm always requested by name. I've come to realize that it's because I can offer a perspective no one else can. The player's expression in the scene, it's exactly how it felt in that moment. You really captured the tension of the moment. I can't believe how deeply you understand what we go through out there. Hearing words like that from active athletes brings me more joy than anything. Gregory always supported my approach. Your strength lies in your experience, Liam. You stood on that field yourself. That's why you can capture the players' emotions. But not everything went smoothly. Last spring, Gregory stepped down from his role as president due to his age, and his son, Derek Spencer, who had been the executive vice president, took over as president. Since then, the atmosphere within the company began to change. Liam, another missed deadline? Today, I was summoned to the president's office once again. Documents from my current project were spread out across the desk. I'm sorry, I just need a little more time. Any other designer would have finished by now. Mr. Spencer's cold gaze pierced right through me. It was true that I took more time than others, but there was a reason for that. I listened carefully to the client's requests, visited the site, and spoke with the players. Sometimes I sat in on their practices, trying to absorb the atmosphere of the team itself. That was the approach Gregory had taught me, the mindset of a true creator. Well, things are different from my father's era, Mr. Spencer continued with a sigh. These days, efficiency is everything. Quick turnaround is what the industry demands. Quantity over quality. You'll need to cut a few corners here and there. This is business, you know? His words dripped with sarcasm. Our company's strength lies in the way it captures the inner world of the athletes. The joy I felt when a client said that to me the other day now feels like a burden. Liam, from now on, simplify your work. You can still produce something decent without taking so long. Decent. That word really captured how difficult it was to create something that was just decent. When I returned to my desk, a new project brief had been placed there. It was for an ad poster for a high school baseball team. A project meant to capture the heart of both the coach and the players, a job that truly mattered. Liam, are you heading to the field again? My junior from the neighboring desk asked, concern in his voice. Yeah, but Mr. Spencer said. Before he could finish, I stood up. It was true that this company now prioritized efficiency, but there were some things I just couldn't compromise on. The atmosphere on the field, the expressions on the players' faces, and the passion they carry. Without capturing those, I couldn't possibly create something real. Mr. Spencer didn't like the way I walked, dragging my foot. I knew that. But it's precisely because of this leg that I can see the world the way I do. And as long as it moves, I want to keep using it to the fullest of my ability. I remembered Gregory's words. You're still standing on the pitch. That's right, I won't run away. Not this time. Stephen, I'm heading out to the school. All right, be careful. But the deadline. I'll meet it, I promise. Just like I once chased the ball, now all I chase meaning. Even if no one else understands it, this is my way. Rocking gently in the train, I opened my sketchbook. What kind of expressions would I capture from the players I'd meet today? What kind of emotions would I be able to carve into the page? Images swirled in my mind. When I returned from covering the high school baseball team, I was summoned again by Mr. Spencer. Ah, Liam, good work. More field research, was it? When I stepped into the president's office, he was standing by the window. That familiar smirk played across his face as he turned to look at me. Yes, I went to observe the players' training session. Well, I suppose I can understand that kind of attachment to the work. Mr. Spencer settled into his expensive-looking chair and glanced down at the papers on his desk. Liam, did you know? Our newest hire has a master's degree from a prestigious art university. Top of her class in the design department. Yes. She's already submitted 3 poster concepts for this project, all without ever visiting the site. The implication behind his words stabbed right through me. And another thing, he began tapping his polished desk with a luxurious fountain pen. This high school baseball poster? We're not the only agency working on it. It's a competitive job. Do you understand what that means? Mr. Spencer slowly raised his eyes to meet mine. There was a coldness in them I had never seen before. Someone like you going to the site with that disability, taking all that time. To be honest, it's inefficient. I graduated near the top of my class from a fine arts university myself. I know what it means to judge work from a professional standpoint. And from that perspective, I just don't see the need for all this field work if it means sacrificing efficiency. Well, Mr. Spencer, I know I take time, but… Liam. He cut me off quietly. I nodded. I already had a sense of what was coming next. To be honest, my father probably hired you out of a sense of gratitude. But kindness has no place in business. It's not right for someone who got in through a personal connection to keep expecting special treatment. That's not true. I forced the words out. Gregory valued my work. I know. You saved his life that day. And because of that, he looked at your work through rose-colored glasses. That's not true. My voice rose despite myself. I earned my place. I won that competition. Gregory recognized my skill. Liam. Mr. Spencer stared at me with that same frigid look. To be honest, it's difficult to watch. You're dragging that leg around and going out to the field. Are you trying to win people's sympathy? My fists trembled. The clients probably compliment you out of pity. When they say your work has soul, it's just flattery. What they're really thinking is, we'd feel bad firing this guy. He began walking slowly around me, the sound of his expensive leather shoes echoing across the room. My father may have hired you out of kindness, but kindness has no place in business. You weren't hired under a disability quota, so why do you expect to be treated differently? The other designers complete their work efficiently, but you drag yourself out there, struggling at every step. It's painful to watch. You really not understand how much of a burden you're placing on those around you? Each word was like a blade carving into my chest. It's pathetic. Showing off how hard you're trying with that body of yours. This isn't charity work. That was the final trigger. Next day, I was called to the HR office and handed my termination notice. The reasons were significant decrease in work efficiency and lack of awareness of deadlines. I left the company, head hanging low. Over the next 3 months, I carried my resume to dozens of design firms. But every interview ended the same way. We're sorry, but… The interviewer's words always trailed off. Even when I explained my experience, even when I showed my awards, the reaction didn't change. Eventually, I understood. Mr. Spencer's shadow stretched across the industry. The design world is small, and the reputation of a major firm like Creative Vision carried weight. If it's about my leg. At one interview, I finally worked up the courage to bring it up myself. But the interviewer quickly shook his head. No, it's not about that. I'd heard the rest of the sentence too many times before. My savings were almost gone, and rent was becoming harder to manage. Even so, I could never let go of my sketchbook. On the train to my next interview, I caught my reflection in the window, and my face looked tired, worn down. So this is Art Brain. I checked the nameplate in front of an old building. A small production company rumored to be on the verge of bankruptcy. This might really be my last chance. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a modest office space. There were just a few desks. Old artwork pinned to the walls, their colors faded. Yes? Can I help you? I turned to see a woman, likely in her late 30s, standing nearby. She had a composed presence and an intelligent air about her. I'm here for an interview. Liam, right? I'm Sullivan, the president. Her words caught me off guard. I'd heard rumors that the president was a young woman, but I didn't expect someone like this. This way, please. The meeting space she led me to was small, but sunlight poured in through the window, filling it with warmth. I had an interview with the president right off the bat, but I didn't need superficial pleasantries, and I didn't need to wait around for a result. Simple was just fine with me. May I see your portfolio? Yes. I handed over my sketchbook. Miss Sullivan turned the pages slowly, pausing occasionally to nod as she studied each piece with care. Then she stopped at one. This is a high school baseball game, isn't it? Yes, from the recent qualifiers. You really captured the expressions of the players. It feels like I'm right there. Thank you. I actually went to the field, talked to the players while I was drawing. Wait, really? Miss Sullivan's eyes sharpened with sudden intensity. You always do that kind of research? Yes. I want to reflect the atmosphere of the moment in my work. That must take a lot of time, doesn't it? I held my breath. Was this the moment she'd tell me it was too inefficient? Too slow again? But then she said something I never expected. That's incredible. What? This is exactly the kind of approach we value most. Ms. Sullivan stood up and walked toward the window. To be honest, our company is barely hanging on right now. When she turned back, there was frustration in her eyes. We've been losing jobs left and right to the big firms, but I'm not ready to give up. There was strength in Ms. Sullivan's voice, an unwavering will. I don't want to produce cheap, soulless work. I want every project to be filled with meaning. I know that's a risky way to run a company, and that our finances are hanging by a thread. But I don't want this to be just a business. Her words struck a deep chord within me. Liam, I'd like to offer you 5 times your previous salary. What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But in return, I want you to approach this with everything you've got. This company's future depends on your hands. I was speechless in the face of Ms. Sullivan's sincere gaze. Take as much time as you need. What I want is work with soul. Before I realized it, I was bowing deeply. Thank you so much. I'll do my best. That day marked the beginning of my new life at ArtBrain. My first assignment was to create a promotional poster for a local professional basketball team. As usual, I visited their practices, talked to the players, and observed. Wait, you always interview us in this much detail? After practice, a young forward asked in amazement. My sketchbook was filled with dozens of drawings of his shooting form. Every movement was broken down like frames in a film. You really spend this much time? Most interviews end after a few quick photos and 2 or 3 questions. It was true that staff from other advertising agencies and design firms usually packed up and left in less than an hour. But for me, that wasn't enough. Hey, this is us from yesterday's practice. You were here every day. As they flipped through the pages, each day's training scenes came to life. Voices of surprise echoed among the players. But why go that far? The team captain asked curiously. I thought for a moment, then answered, because I want to draw with soul, and to do that, I have to truly capture each moment of what you're feeling. The players nodded silently. Then, the captain suddenly smiled. All right, let's help him out. You're coming back tomorrow, right, Liam? One by one, the players chimed in. And as I was about to leave, the captain patted me on the shoulder. Thanks for putting our emotions into your art. Tears welled up in my eyes. It felt just like back when I stood on the pitch, as if I'd been accepted as part of the team once again. It felt like not just a journalist or outsider, but a fellow teammate fighting alongside them. Ms. Sullivan later reviewed my progress and gave a quiet smile. That's it. This is exactly the kind of work I was hoping for. Her words made me stand a little straighter. The finished poster became a hit around town. On social media, comments poured in. The players' expressions feel so real. You can truly feel the team's passion. And I want to draw like this illustrator someday. And from that moment on, the jobs started coming in bit by bit. If this is the quality you deliver, we want to work with your company. Direct requests from clients began to increase. The kind of careful, heartfelt work that big agencies focused on speed and low cost couldn't provide was finally being recognized. 6 months had passed, and the atmosphere at the company had begun to change. Sales were slowly but steadily climbing. New employees had joined, and the office was filled with renewed energy. One day, Miss Sullivan called me into her office. "There's a major project I want to talk to you about." The documents she handed me featured the logo of a nationwide sports uniform brand. "This is a pretty large-scale campaign, but why us? They specifically requested you after seeing your work." A proud smile spread across Ms. Sullivan's face. "They said they were moved by the expressions you give the athletes you draw." Her words brought a sudden warmth to my eyes. "Ms. Sullivan, thank you, Liam. It's because of you that this company has found its breath again." Outside the window, the sunset blazed across the sky. It was the biggest job I'd ever faced. But I wasn't afraid, because this company had soul. And inside me, the will to keep fighting was still burning strong. "Liam, how about a drink tonight?" At a small bar near the office. At the counter, Ms. Sullivan downed her glass of draft beer in one go. "Ah, that hits the spot." Her usual composed air slipped away, replaced by a relaxed tone. Her cheeks turned slightly red, and as she set the glass down, she let out a nostalgic smile. "The truth is, I used to work at a big firm. I was one of those so-called career-focused women." "Really?" "But I got fed up with a life that was all about numbers. I just wanted to do real work, something that meant something." As she poured her second drink, she went on. "Everyone tried to talk me out of it. Said, a woman starting her own company? Alone? But I believed I could do it, so I used up my savings and jumped in." Her eyes shimmered. She stared into her glass. "Things went well at first, but then the demands started. Faster and cheaper, and one by one, people left." I heard her sniffle quietly. "I really thought it was over, until I met you, Liam." She turned toward me, and the flush on her cheeks wasn't just from the alcohol anymore. "When I was ready to give up, you made me believe I could dream again." Her teary eyes reflected my face, illuminated by the soft light from above the counter. It made her expression look even more beautiful. "I'm truly grateful to you, Liam. Thank you." Her sincere gaze made my heart skip a beat. The closeness between us made me glance away in a fluster. "Your refill's already here, by the way." I grabbed my glass, finally managing to steady myself. Maybe I'd been thirstier than I realized, so the beer went down smooth and comforting. "But really, I should be the one thanking you." "Huh?" She set her glass down, and I met her eyes with a serious look. "When I got fired from my last company, I thought it was all over. I really believed I couldn't keep going as an illustrator with the way I draw. But you, Ms. Sullivan, you saw the value in my work, and that meant more to me than anything." This time, it was her turn to look away. Even her ears had turned red. "Let's order another round." Seeing her flusteredly call for the server, I couldn't help but smile. Somehow, it felt like we had both let our guards down a little. A few weeks later, we were selected to participate in a competition for a major sportswear brand. It was a high-stakes proposal for a new nationwide campaign. For ArtBrain, this would be the biggest project yet. Television commercials, nationwide train station ads, full-page spreads in sports magazines, and even a full-scale social media campaign. Every aspect would be handled by a single company. The budget was on a completely different level. This wasn't just another advertising gig. If we succeeded, millions of people would see it. Not just ArtBrain's name, but my illustrations might reach the hearts of people all across Japan. Just thinking about that weight made it hard to breathe. But at the same time, my blood was pumping with excitement. "Thank you for having us." As I stepped into the client's office, my eyes landed on a familiar figure I didn't expect to see. "Mr. Spencer?" There was no mistaking it. Sitting across the room was Derek Spencer, president of Creative Vision. He looked surprised when he saw me. "Well now, Liam. Long time no see. It's been a while." This campaign was massive. It made sense that Creative Vision was in the running. Seth, the director representing the client company, began to speak. "As you're all aware, This will be a multi-agency competition. We look forward to reviewing each of your proposals." Mr. Spencer wore a confident, almost smug expression. Of course, Creative Vision was one of the client's biggest contractors. This was probably already decided. No way would such a major client entrust this job to a small firm like ours. The deadline for your proposals is in 2 weeks. Thank you all in advance. As I was leaving the conference room, Mr. Spencer leaned in and whispered by my ear, "You do well not to waste your time. The outcome is already decided." In that moment, my suspicions became certainty. But I couldn't give up. I had made a promise to Ms. Sullivan. I would pour my soul into my work. "Liam." Just as I was about to step into the elevator, Ms. Sullivan called out, "That man?" "Yes, he was my previous president." Her expression turned serious. "Then let's win this." Those words straightened my spine. "I promise we will. Rigged or not, there's work here that only we can do. And I would prove it." On the way back to the office, my resolve solidified with every step. This wasn't just a pitch. This was a battle of the soul. All right. My grip on the sketchbook tightened. I was ready for the battle that lay ahead. The very next day, I headed out for the first client meeting. The project contact was the company's head of sales and marketing. But the moment I opened the meeting room door, I froze. Sitting there was Simon. He was my former best friend and the ace striker from our middle school soccer team. "Liam, it's been a while." His voice was cold. We hadn't seen each other once since graduating from middle school, but he had apparently risen through the ranks in the sales world and become an executive at a major sportswear company while still young. Come to think of it, his father owned a sportswear company. So this was the one. "Never thought you would be the one to show up." There was clear mockery in his tone. I felt a wave of guilt as I glanced at Ms. Sullivan beside me. How were we supposed to win under these conditions? "Let me walk you through the key points of our proposal." Ms. Sullivan stepped forward with confidence. Simon straightened his posture, but his eyes remained completely indifferent. When the meeting ended and we were about to leave the room, "Liam, got a minute?" Simon called out. I turned to Ms. Sullivan and said, "Please go on ahead," then looked back at him. "Seems like you've taken quite a detour." His voice dripped with sarcasm. "So now you're an illustrator, huh? Gave up the dream and ran off in that direction instead?" "No," I replied calmly, but firmly. "I didn't run away. I'm proud of the work I do now." "Humph. Easy to say, but in the end, actions are what matter." His eyes narrowed sharply. "Because of you, our dream was crushed. The promise we made to become professional soccer players. Simon, this time I'll be the one to show you what it really means to give up on a dream." There was no mistaking the hostility in his voice. On the way back to the office, Ms. Sullivan spoke up, worry in her tone. "Liam, are you all right?" "I'm sorry, Ms. Sullivan. We might not win this one." "Why do you say that?" "The project lead, Simon, was my best friend once. But now, he resents me." Ms. Sullivan smiled gently. "Have you forgotten your greatest strength?" "What do you mean?" "Your artwork has soul, Liam. No one can deny that." Her words struck a chord deep inside me. Even if there's a complicated past, there's still work here only we can do. She was right. Even if Simon hated me, my passion for this project was real. My hand trembled slightly as I opened my sketchbook. A month had passed, and the final selection for the competition was drawing near. In the end, the competition came down to just 2 companies, which were Creative Vision and us. "We're almost there, Liam." Late at night in the office, Ms. Sullivan smiled warmly. Her tired face, lit by the moonlight, looked oddly beautiful. "If we land this project, we might be able to rent a bigger office." Leaning back in her chair, Ms. Sullivan wore a dreamy expression. "We could hire new people. Maybe even build a team around you." "A team?" "Yes, a group of creators who can work with the same heart and soul that you do." Ms. Sullivan stretched her arms wide with excitement. And together, we'll take over the sports industry, or something like that. That doesn't sound like you, Ms. Sullivan. Oh, let me dream just this once. Outside the window, Tokyo's skyline glittered against the night. Just the two of us in the office. For some reason, my heart started beating a little faster. Hey, Liam. Just then, her phone rang. Who could it be at this hour? Hello, this is Sullivan from ArtBrain. What? Her expression quickly hardened. No, it can't be. When she hung up, her face had gone pale. What happened? We just received a sudden contract termination notice from Yates Advertising, one of our key clients. At that moment, the office phone began ringing. One after another, messages came in, contract cancellations. What is this? What's going on? As I panicked, Ms. Sullivan answered in a trembling voice. Apparently, damaging rumors about ArtBrain were spreading through the industry. They were false claims about missed deadlines and quality issues, all of it baseless. No way. I picked up my phone and started calling contacts in the industry to confirm. And then, the truth began to surface. What? You heard that from someone at Creative Vision's sales team? Multiple clients gave similar accounts. The salesperson from Creative Vision had visited, casually mentioning things like, I heard ArtBrain's been missing a lot of deadlines lately, and there are rumors about quality issues too. The most decisive piece of evidence was an email from a friend. He worked at a major advertising agency and told me about something he had witnessed by chance. Yesterday, I overheard Mr. Spencer from Creative Vision telling his team to spread bad rumors about ArtBrain. He didn't notice me passing by, but I clearly heard him say it. This is definitely Mr. Spencer's doing. I clenched my fist as I gathered more evidence. He was trying to crush us by spreading lies. Those cowardly moves and exploiting weakness, I couldn't forgive it. But with the first move already made against us, there was nothing we could do, so we just kept losing contracts, one after another. The next morning brought the worst news yet. There was an email from Simon's company. We regret to inform you that we have decided to withdraw your company from consideration for the upcoming brand campaign project. No. Ms. Sullivan let out something between a gasp and a cry. The next morning in the conference room, Ms. Sullivan stood frozen in disbelief. This is too much. Her voice trembled. Everything she had worked so hard to build was collapsing in an instant. She seemed at a loss for words, unable to process the reality. Ms. Sullivan, maybe we should take a short break. I reached for the TV remote in the conference room. I was hoping, if nothing else, to take her mind off things. The screen turned on and a financial news program began. And then, we interrupt with breaking news. A sudden press conference has been announced by Simon, director of the major sportswear company Doyle & Co. As many of you know, Doyle & Co. is a sponsor of the upcoming All Japan Soccer Tournament. What? Ms. Sullivan gasped. The screen showed Simon, dressed in a suit. It was a face from the past. Today, I have a very important announcement. Simon's voice echoed through the room. We have carefully considered which company will handle the design for our new brand campaign. Reporters leaned in, holding their breath. Simon took a slow, deep breath and said, as of today, it is officially decided that we have selected ArtBrain as our creative partner. What? Ms. Sullivan shot to her feet in shock. And there is one more important matter I must address. Simon's expression tightened. It has come to our attention that Mr. Spencer, president of Creative Vision, has been engaging in systematic harassment of competing companies. Additionally, we have discovered that individuals within our own company were complicit. As the reporters stirred, Simon continued in a calm, steady voice. Specifically, the deliberate spread of false rumors and unjust interference with our client contracts. This is a clear case of business obstruction, and we are currently considering legal action. What is happening? To the bewildered Ms. Sullivan, I whispered quietly. I'm sorry, Ms. Sullivan. Liam? Actually, he reached out to me last night. I began to recount what had happened. Simon had chosen a cafe near the station as our meeting spot, and for a long while, he sat there in silence. Steam rose quietly from our coffee cups as the silence stretched on. Finally, he spoke. "I'm sorry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've regretted that day ever since." Simon's voice was faint, trembling. "The day you had the accident, all I could say was something cold like, 'Why would you do that for a stranger?' That was all I had to offer." He clenched his fists, and they trembled. "You were the one who had it the hardest. You were the one who had to give up your dream. And yet, all I thought about was myself." He looked away, his eyes glistening. "You saved someone, and still, I blamed you. Some best friend I turned out to be. Simon, when I first saw you again, to be honest, I was angry. I thought you gave up on soccer. I thought you ran away." He stared into his coffee, then continued. "But after reading your proposal, I finally understood. You've been standing on the pitch this whole time." Simon, his voice was trembling. "All the emotion in this. It's all about soccer. The feelings of the players, the energy of the crowd, and that high of the moment. You're expressing it all through your art." Simon's eyes glistened. "The truth is, I'm the one who was running away. I pretended to resent you, but really, I just couldn't face my own weakness. The other company's proposals, they were flashy and polished, but empty. No soul. Yours was different." His serious gaze met mine. The players' expressions and every movement. Everything felt alive. The moment I saw it, I just thought, "This is it." Simon let out a deep sigh and gently set down his coffee cup. "But after the competition, the mood in the company was awful. The board members who support Mr. Spencer were blatantly pushing for Creative Vision's proposal. It was like a done deal." "What do you mean?" "Some of them have been close with Mr. Spencer for years. They're trying to steer the campaign in his direction. But that's not a fair decision." There was pain in Simon's expression as he looked out the window. "Mr. Spencer holds a lot of power in the industry. By aligning with him, our board members have secured various benefits over the years. That's why they're so eager to support him. So, what do you want from us?" "I want to expose Mr. Spencer's corrupt dealings. But to do that, I need hard evidence. Right now, he's doing everything he can to crush your company. I want to use this opportunity to uncover the illegal activities he's involved in." Simon's voice wavered. "We've already begun the investigation, but it'll take a little more time to gather decisive proof. Until then, things will be hard on your team." "I understand," I answered without hesitation. Simon's eyes widened. "You agreed that quickly? I know it's not going to be easy, but..." I looked him straight in the eye. "We believe in putting our soul into every project, if that belief is on the line, Liam. And besides," I added with a faint smile, "I believe in you. Let's change this corrupt industry together." Tears welled up in Simon's eyes. "I really am sorry. And thank you. For Ms. Sullivan, and for everyone in ArtBrain, I had to win this fight. As soon as we have enough proof, I'll hold a press conference." As we parted, I shook the hand Simon held out to me. It was a firm handshake that marked the beginning of a new battle. 1 week has passed since the press conference. The industry was in upheaval. Creative Vision's Mr. Spencer resigns. Doyle & Co. announces organizational reform. ArtBrain secures largest contract in company history. Headlines like these dominated the papers and news sites for days. The extent of Mr. Spencer's misconduct was worse than anyone had expected. After the press conference, more evidence poured in. They were bribery, illicit kickbacks, and harassment of rival firms. The darkness behind the scenes was finally dragged into the light. Major changes also took place within Doyle & Co. Executives connected to Mr. Spencer began resigning one after another. A sweeping reorganization followed, which could only be called a purge. Well, I'd say that's the outcome they deserved. A message from Simon arrived. Honestly, I should have done this a lot sooner. But now, we can finally become the kind of company we're supposed to be. It's thanks to you. Just as I was about to reply, a news alert popped up. Former Creative Vision president, Mr. Spencer, indicted on criminal charges. Allegations include breach of trust. Seeing the headline, faces of former colleagues flashed through my mind. But this was pain we had to endure. A necessary step for the industry to become a healthier place. Liam, Ms. Sullivan called out, her voice full of energy. We're getting flooded with new job requests. Look at these proposals. Her excitement triggered a memory. That day of the accident. The despair of having to give up soccer. But from that loss, I found a new dream and made it this far. So many companies are saying, we want to see more of ArtBrain's soul-driven work. It feels like a dream. Ms. Sullivan's voice practically sparkled. It was true. Since that incident, the company has begun to change in a big way. New employees joined, and the office was starting to feel cramped. Starting next month, we'll be expanding into the floor next door, Ms. Sullivan announced with a bright smile. Her profile looked so beautiful in that moment. A year passed. The landscape of the industry had changed dramatically. ArtBrain had grown into a mid-sized company with over 50 employees. Soulful work was becoming the new industry standard. Doyle & Co. had also found success under a new, younger leadership team, launching one project after another. You know, you're still amazing, Simon said one evening at a bar during one of our weekend meetups. His voice had a warmth I'd never heard from him before. You've always been that way. No matter what came your way, you never gave up. You turned hardship into strength. He stared at his beer mug as he continued. Even when you couldn't play soccer anymore, you found another path. And not just any path. You're shining brighter than anyone in it. Simon, don't ever change, all right? You'll always be my partner. Though maybe it's not my place to say that anymore. His words made my chest tighten with emotion. Those days chasing the ball together in middle school. Now we were chasing dreams in different ways, as allies once again. You kidding? Of course I'll keep going. Let's stick together. Since then, we started going to stadiums together on our days off. Sitting in the stands and gazing out at the pitch where we once stood, we talked passionately about the game. I really want to capture that player's movement. With your talent, you could nail that moment of intensity perfectly. Sitting side by side in the stadium seats, I talked with my old friend. Sharing dreams once again, it felt just like it used to. You know. Simon downed his beer and grinned. What's going on with you and Ms. Sullivan, huh? Something's different about the two of you. What? Nothing's going on. Don't lie. You're wearing a ring on your right hand, aren't you? Oh. I instinctively clenched my right hand. Simon's eyes were as sharp as ever. No way? Since when? Well, it's still a secret for now. You seriously kept that from your best friend? I just couldn't find the right timing. You haven't changed. Still awkward as ever. Simon laughed, a nostalgic grin on his face. But hey, congrats. Ms. Sullivan's a great person. Thanks! And let me guess, you probably proposed in that same clumsy way, huh? Shut up. The sound of our laughter echoed through the stadium. Maybe this was a new kind of happiness. In life, there's no real ending. Every setback can be the start of something new. What matters is never giving up. And also, what matters is to keep walking straight down the path you believe in. There will be times when things don't go your way. But maybe that's okay. In fact, each one of those moments might just be the key to unlocking a new possibility.